Hello, this is Phantom Rose here, and I wanted to say that I'm re-recording this opening because part of it got deleted by accident because I'm still new to using Adobe. But what I wanted to say is that, I'm going to re-record this opening. I am, this week, going to be reviewing a Cantorlot wedding. And I've already planned out what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 weeks after this before the Season 4 premiere. Next week, I am planning on doing the Season 3 opener, The Crystal Empire, and then the week after that, I will be doing the Season 3 finale, Magical Mystery Cure, because I feel that actually it would be very important if I got all the important episodes out of the way before Season 4 showed up. So that is where I am starting. And like I said, this is a re-recording of the beginning, so I'm going to have to be very careful with my editing and stuff. Okay, so we start off the episode with Twilight finding out that her brother is going to be getting married to a princess that she doesn't know. And, Twilight finding out about this is probably something that she completely didn't expect. And we never even heard of this brother of hers before. We didn't even know she had a brother until this episode. Because, honestly, he's a plot convenience character, showing up just for the convenience of the plot and no other reason. But, honestly, I think that was probably because of the fact that I came up with a theory that Twilight may never talk about her brother because of the fact that she didn't have any friends. She wouldn't have any reason to talk about her brother. And also that, maybe Shining Armor got accepted into the Academy for Royal Guards because he wanted to be a Royal Guard when he was little. Maybe he got accepted into an academy at a very young age, or very young for Twilight, because Twilight is I'm guessing, a lot younger than Shining Armor. And so this would make sense that Twilight just all of a sudden just would never talk about her brother because of the fact that she didn't have any friends and she had no reason to talk about her brother and he wasn't around very much. Twilight not making any friends, never had any reason to discuss having a brother because the only person she was friends with was her brother. So, that would explain why she never talked about him. There was no reason for her to bring him up because she had never had to bring him up to anyone else before. And, of course, there's always the idea that maybe Twilight just didn't want her friends to be like, oh, we're friends with you just because your brother happens to be a Royal Guard captain. Yeah, Twilight's still new to friendship. She wouldn't have immediately brought it up, and she'd be too busy doing all this other stuff with her learning the magic of friendship to even think about bringing it up later on. It makes sense. And if Twilight only saw her brother every once in a while whenever he got to go home from the academy, it would explain why in the flashback she was so excited to see her brother, even though it seems like apparently she's so close to him. Wouldn't she see him every day if they were that close? Well, it would explain that they're very close to each other, but he got recruited to the Royal Guard at such an early age and stuff. Early for Twilight, that they wouldn't see each other very often, and whenever they do, it would be a big occasion, they'd have so much fun together. It makes sense that maybe just Twilight and Shining Armor didn't see each other as often as they wanted to. And then obviously he would have a little less leniency because he's learning how to be a Royal Guard later on, and he becomes part of the Royal Guard. He would have a little less leniency because it would actually be a job instead of a full-time learning experience. But by then, Twilight was working on studying the magic of magic. By then, Twilight was studying under Princess Celestia. She wouldn't see him as often. Honestly, I feel that Twilight's parents are very unhappy that they'd be able to get to see their kids as often as they wish they could. Both their kids are really, really busy. And honestly, really important. I just have to think that when Twilight's parents had Shining Armor, they did not imagine that Shining Armor would have such a big impact. He would become captain of a Royal Guard. And then he would become a prince by marrying a princess. And then Twilight, they didn't expect that she would become a Princess Celestia's student, the almighty ruler of all of Equestria, having their daughter become her student, and then becoming a princess herself. I mean, honestly, either those parents are super extremely proud and just a little bit braggy. I would imagine they would brag about something like this because that is pretty important. And they have had all this good fortune happen to them. Their kids are both royalty. I mean, come on. They gotta be some proud, happy parents. Okay, well, back to the story. So we find out that Shining Armor, Twilight's brother, is going to be marrying a princess. She is, of course, very unhappy and proceeds to sing a song about what her brother meant to her and how much he was a figure in her life, which I love that song. That song is really adorable. You expect it to be kind of sad in the beginning, but it goes to this upbeat tempo and slowly, gradually gets a little bit sadder, then goes up again and then gets sad again. And then we end it with a ghostly figure of Shining Armor standing next to Twilight while she's crying, which is actually kind of depressing if you think about it. If we didn't know, if she was singing this song without us knowing that it was because of the fact that Twilight's brother is getting married, if she was just singing the song completely out of context to what was actually going on, I imagine that a lot of people would assume that Twilight's brother might have been dead. Because that is just a suggestive to him being dead. But he's not dead, so that's really good. Okay, so they travel to Cantorlot after learning all their royal duties. Spike makes a joke about the fact that he's going to be hosting the bachelor party, which honestly is one of the funniest jokes in this episode. It's just hilarious. I'm just like, Spike, you are too young to be hosting a bachelor party. And the fact that you're even thinking about it is just horrible. And he doesn't even know what a bachelor party is. I'm just wondering exactly how on earth he knows about a bachelor party and doesn't know at the same time, and that he is saying he's going to throw it. I'm just like, Spike, I don't know what you're thinking, but no, you can't do this. It's not for you. Okay, so when we get to Cantorlot, we see it's a little bit different. For some reason, there is a very big glowing pink orb all over the city, and a lot of guards everywhere. Of course, everyone accounts of this being a part of the wedding. Pinkie Pie sneezes confetti, and Twilight goes to tell her brother how unhappy she is that she didn't hear about him getting married from him himself, instead from an invitation. Which, I'd be angry about that as well if I didn't hear that someone important to me was getting married from them, but instead from a piece of paper. So as Twilight talks to Shining Armor about how angry she is, we find out that a threat has been made against Cantorlot, and that Shining Armor, being a captain of the Royal Guard, is the only one who can protect the city using a shield spell that only he can conjure up. We also find out that Shining Armor's bride-to-be happens to be Twilight's old foal-sitter. Well, Twilight's old foal-sitter, Princess Miyamori Canenza, or Cadance, who happens to be a very kind and loving person, and has the special talent of being able to spread love wherever she goes using her magic. Now, I personally enjoy Cadance as a character. I love that she is such a kind person. I mean, she, according to the Crystal Heart spell, which explains Cadance's backstory, was apparently just a regular old Pegasus who learned the power of true love from defeating a pony witch who was very mean and making everyone in the town miserable. And then Cadance learned the power of true love by defeating her, which is interesting because it says that apparently unicorns aren't the only ones that can be transformed into alicorns like Twilight was. Cadance was just a Pegasus who became an alicorn. She didn't even have any magical powers in the first place and somehow was able to do this stuff, which is awesome. Go Cadance. She didn't even have magic powers. Now she's got the magical powers of spreading love wherever she goes, which is so great. And another thing is that now we know that Cadance was possibly the first artificial alicorn. She was a Pegasus originally, then became an alicorn, like Twilight was a unicorn originally, then became an alicorn. And also, I have to say this, if anyone actually hasn't seen Magical Mystery Cure yet, then I'm sorry. But yeah, that's what happens. So, Cadance shows up. And Twilight, being, I guess, very happy to see Cadence, who I'm guessing she hasn't seen in a very long time after becoming Princess Celestia's student. She wouldn't really need a full sitter anymore. Does one of the cutest things ever. She does the handshake that her and Cadence used to do all the time. And it is adorable. Honestly, I've heard that people do this when they go to BronyCons and stuff, or anything. Like, it's like, oh, you meet another brony? This is what you should do. You should do Sunshine, Sunshine. It's because I'm just like, I'm not doing that yet, but that is adorable, and it's cute. It's very cute. So, when Cadence doesn't immediately comply, we automatically think that maybe something's just a little bit off, or perhaps Cadence is a lot more mature than we think. But then we get a look at the expressions on her face, and we realize that maybe something is kind of off. It's just the look. She's got this look on her face like, I know something you don't know, and there's nothing you can do to stop me. It's that look. She's got that look. And it really just makes you think something is going to happen. And we don't know what's going to happen, but something is going to happen. So we get to see Cadence reacting to the other main six's plans for her, well, except for Fluttershy. We get to see her reacting to Rarity's dress designs, Applejack's food, and Pinkie Pie's reception plans. And it doesn't seem like she's very happy about anything. Extremely rude to everyone. And Twilight's the only one who seems to notice this. Well, obviously, she's extremely suspicious. I mean, she remembers Cadence as being a very kind and loving person, and all of a sudden she's being rude to her friends. It's kind of not cool. I mean, anyone who I was longtime friends with all of a sudden became really rude that way. I would be suspicious as well as to what was going on. So Twilight, after confronting her friends, trying to convince them that something's going on with Cadence, and untimely failing, tries to come talk to her brother about what's going on, where she witnesses Cadence doing something that looks like putting her brother under a spell. And if anyone actually really paid attention to what was going on, I mean, if they really, really paid attention to that scene, they would notice that Cadence's magic was green instead of blue. When we see the flashback of Cadence taking care of Twilight when she was a foal, we see that Cadence's magic is a very nice light blue color. But throughout this entire episode, when we see older Cadence performing magic, it's a kind of green color. I mean, if anyone's really paying attention, they would immediately realize something was going on. So, after seeing this, Twilight ultimately believes that Cadence is evil and ruins the wedding rehearsal the next day by coming in and saying, hey, Cadence is evil, I want you to go away. And honestly, after that, I mean, her brother is angry at her, her friends don't even want to talk to her about it, and her teacher, Princess Celestia, is just like, you have to think about some things. And honestly, I was just like, oh my god, I feel so sorry for Twilight. Poor Twilight has just been shunned by everyone she knows and loves so much. If her parents were there and had said something like that, something bad or something, that would have been horrible. That would have been even worse. It's just like, not only does her friends, her brother, and her teacher hate her for what she's done, but her parents are angry too. That would just be like, nope, I'm sorry, but Twilight, you officially are not allowed to be loved by anyone anymore. That's what it'd be like, and that would be so horrible. And you really feel bad for Twilight. But then Cadence comes back into the room without getting noticed somehow. I don't know who was paying attention, but apparently she just suddenly shows up. And we get the most interesting thing that I can say about this episode. All of a sudden, burning ring of fire surrounds Twilight and slowly makes her go underground. And Cadence's eyes are glowing green. And everyone's just like, what is going on? We all thought Twilight was in the wrong, but apparently she was right. And this girl is evil, with a capital evil. I mean, that is just woo. That really gets you. Honestly, all I have to say was that at the end of the first episode for this, I was just like, what is going on? I have no idea what's going on. And of course, next episode we find out that this Cadence that we've been seeing for the entirety of the first episode is a complete and utter fake. and that the real Cadence is underneath Cantorlot in the Cantorlot diamond mines, where Twilight has also been taken by fake Cadence. And, well, the reason we know that she's real Cadence? She can do Sunshine, Sunshine. She doesn't think it's ridiculous. And that is just adorable. Because honestly, I mean, come on. Sunshine, Sunshine. Yay. So next we get something that I love so much. Honestly, a little backstory about me. The first ever piece of canon pony media that I have ever seen in my entire life, like not a fan-made video, but the first actual canon thing from MLP that I ever saw was This Day Aria. This Day Aria was the main reason. After seeing it, I immediately thought in my head, you know, this is really interesting. Maybe MLP isn't as horrible as I thought. I mean, it was that combined with a recommendation from one of my best friends that made me watch this show. I mean, I took the recommendation from my friend very seriously, but I didn't even think about watching this show until I saw This Day Aria. The music is so good. I love the fact that we have the same voice actress who's singing for Cadence, singing both part of the villain and the heroine at the same time. It's really good. She really knows how to make herself seem wicked and then innocent at the same time. I can't imagine how that must have worked. Okay, so gushing over the song that I just love to death, we get back to the wedding. And it's starting, and real Cadence and Twilight are still downstairs underneath the castle. And then all of a sudden, we get one of the creepiest images this show has ever produced, with Cadence's original bridesmaids showing up and looking as creepy as hell. It's just like, they're coming to you and you're speaking in unison, you're not going anywhere. And then the screen goes black except for their glowing eyes. That's just really creepy. That is really creepy. But it so fits the mood that Twilight and real Cadence are in serious danger. That if they don't go and stop the wedding, something really bad is going to happen. So, because of Cadence's smart thinking and the ability to find a bouquet of flowers in caverns underneath Cantorlot Castle, and the fact that bridesmaids will be bridesmaids, Twilight and real Cadence get out of the caverns, find their way to the reception hall, and stop the wedding before fake Cadence in shining armor can say I do. And it's so great when we find out exactly what fake Cadence is, that apparently she's an entirely new species of life form on this planet that Equestria is on, called a changeling. A being that can change into any pony, anything, ever, and feed off the emotions of others. I know that Cadence says love, but the main thing I would think is that maybe it's not just love, but also emotion. Because, I mean, Cadence, it makes more sense. It just makes more sense. Even if Cadence just said love, it makes more sense if it's just emotion, because the changelings causing terror throughout Cantorlot, that's not going to make them love. How are they going to feed off of love if they're causing chaos? Well, maybe they also feed off strong emotions, like fear and terror right there, but love with shining armor. So we find out that shining armor is completely under the Queen Changeling, who I'm pretty sure, and who is absolutely canonly named Queen Chrysalis, is completely under her control. There's no way he can cast the shield spell that has been broken by all the other changelings. Everything looks like it's going wrong. But then Celestia shows up and for once actually takes some action in trying to save her kingdom, which never happens ever. I mean, come on. This is your kingdom, your massive kingdom, and you never take any action. She shows up, takes the action that she should have taken episodes ago when Discord showed up, or when Nightmare Moon came back, or when other things happen later on in the series. But she gets defeated. She gets defeated by Queen Chrysalis, because apparently Shining Armor's love is so strong it even surpasses Celestia's power, which is saying something considering Celestia is the all-power ruler of this entire land. It's such an interesting thing to find out that apparently Celestia isn't as godlike as we all thought. Okay, well, continuing. The changelings are running amok, and Celestia tells Twilight that her and her friends need to go and find the Elements of Harmony to defeat the changeling army and Queen Chrysalis. Okay, this next scene has to be one of the best scenes in the entire show. It's the first honest-to-God fight scene where we actually see the main six fighting against the enemy that has been put in front of them. I mean, Nightmare Moon, Twilight tries to charges towards Nightmare Moon and teleports around her. Then Magical Rainbow Bridge comes and saves everyone, and Princess Luna comes out. Discord isn't a fighter. The only time we actually see him do anything that involves taking action is when he transforms Fluttershy into the opposite of kind, because of the fact that she won't just go ahead and transform herself like all the others did. This is the first time we actually see Twilight and her friends fighting the main enemy from the episode. They are fighting changelings, they're hitting changelings, they're kicking changelings. Pinkie Pie uses Twilight as a grappling gun. Then we have the snapshots of seeing what they're doing. Fight, party cannon, fight, party cannon, fight, party cannon. Party cannon is the best part. And then we finally, it seems like everyone's okay. Everything's okay. All the changelings have been defeated. We opened the doors to the hall where the Elements of Harmony are. And they're not there. They're gone. Well, they're not gone, but the changelings are in there. They're everywhere. And it's like, you can't defeat the changelings now. There's no way. There's too many of them. So the main six are captured, taken back to the reception hall, where thankfully everyone except for Spike, Princess Celestia is hanging upside down in a cocoon, Cadance, and the hypnotized Shining Armor and are all there, as well as Queen Chrysalis, who does a reprise of This Day aria and talks about how, well, it seems that everything is perfect. I've actually taken over Cantorlot. The entire thing looks perfect, except for the ending. Okay, the ending of this episode is really great. I love it so much. But the ending of Chrysalis as a villain, as we see her so far, she just thinks she's so got it that nothing can stop her. That she actually lets Twilight let Cadance free and talk to Shining Armor, get him out of the hypnotism spell, and let them take everything back by Shining Armor and Princess Cadance making a shield that repels everyone away. I mean, come on, Queen Chrysalis, you were so calculating and cool. How on earth did you let this happen? Where, you're letting them all free and just feeding you. I mean, come on. It's just too ridiculous. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I mean, good for the episode. Love triumphs over all. It wins in the end, just like it always will. And we find out that Twilight's lesson for this episode is that sometimes you just need to trust your instincts, which are good. Sometimes you just really need to trust your instincts. You need to trust in yourself. And even if no one else believes you, sometimes you need to trust in yourself. And honestly, this is just like a Simpsons episode that had happened before, which you just have to say, Simpsons did it, but oh well, I mean, come on, this was a good moral. And then we get the final song, Love's in Bloom, which Twilight sings, and it's very epic. And we get Rarity being the obsessive bridemaid who wants to be the next person who gets married by taking the bouquet and crazy facing it up. And it's just like, Rarity, come on, when will you ever learn? And then we get another joke about Spike hosting the bachelor party. And the episode ends on a very happy note. The song plays out. We get fireworks, just like in Best Night Ever. And the episode ends so happily. It's happily ever after. This episode reminds me so much of Disney. It just makes me think of Disney whenever I watch it. I'm just like, this would be a Disney movie. If it wasn't My Little Pony, this could have very well been the plot of a Disney movie. And it practically was a couple of times. I mean, it sort of is with, Ariel in the eyes that the villain is disguising herself as a pretty girl and forcing the prince to go under her spell. But instead of having the real princess hiding away in a cavern like in this episode, we have her actually there seeing everything that's happening. And it's like, some elements from Disney were taken into this episode, put there, especially This Day aria, which is the most Disney song I've heard from this show, ever. Ever. It's so good. I love this song. This song is what made me a brony. This song made me into a brony. So if anyone asks you, hey, do you know how Phantom Rose became a brony? Just say, this song, This Day aria, turned her into a brony. That is how that happened. And it was so brilliant. Okay, so as I wrap up this video, I have to say that this was a great episode. So great. So great. I love it. As season finales go, this has to be my favorite. I love Magical Mystery Cure. I love The Best Night Ever. But this is my favorite of the season finales. It's so interesting and good, and the villain is a believable villain up until she gets defeated, and the plot is interesting. We get introduced to a couple new characters who, there's so many plot holes with these characters. These characters were just made for the convenience of the episode. But if you look, I want you people to go look for Digibrony's video. Well, Digibrony's sort of crossover video with Anthony C. and Bernie Curious, where we come back to after Anthony C. and Bernie Curious talked about this episode, which is another thing you should watch. You need to watch Anthony C. and Bernie Curious reviewing a Cantorlot wedding. It is honestly hilarious. I have watched a scene in that episode so many times over and over again because it was just so laugh-worthy. But there is a sequel to that where Anthony C. and Bernie Curious come back, and Digibrony talks to them about how this episode could have gone off better if something had been changed around. I'm not going to tell you what it was, but if you just go check that video out, after, of course, seeing Anthony C. and Bernie Curious talk about this episode, if you just go check that out, it'll be so worth it. And it will make this episode infinitely better. It's good. It's really good. And it really takes part of the episode that is full of plot holes and gives it new meaning. Completely new meaning. And honestly, if the writers had done the episode the same way that Digi describes, it would have been so much better. But I still love this episode so much. Okay, well, that is all I have to say. Next week, I will be doing The Crystal Empire, the Season 3 premiere of MLP. Thank you all for coming and listening. I am Phantom Rose 15, and I hope that next week I do remember. Also, I feel like I haven't gotten a lot of views, so if you see my videos and you have any brony friends, it'd be really cool if you could recommend these to your brony friends so that I would feel a little bit more special, having more people come and see my videos. I'm probably being self-centered. It's just go make others see my videos, but I really want them to see. I wanna share my brony love with the rest of the world, and I can't do that very well because of the fact I'm not instantly famous. So if you have brony friends that like listening to people talk about episodes like I do, well, let them know. Come, show them my videos. It'll be nice. So, thank you. I will see you next week when I talk about the Crystal Empire.